Hey, everybody, it's Kyle Jetzel, your driven autism dad. Today, I want to talk about a strategy that we call the GET philosophy in our family. And this is something we do pretty often in our family to keep us happy and buoyant and motivated. And it kind of goes like this. We're all going to have difficulties. We're all going to have trials. We're all going to face challenges that seem overwhelming. The question we ask ourselves is, what do you get from these things? Okay. Because some of these challenges, some of these trials, some of these tragedies, you can get bitter, you can get frustrated, you can get traumatized, you can get all of these things, or you can get the opposite. You can get growth, you can get experience, you can get wisdom. So we've decided in our family to get the good stuff. Now, it's interesting, and I learned this philosophy from a book I read a long time ago. Just after I graduated high school, I thought, I wasn't very well educated. I grew up in inner city Dallas in an area called Oak Cliff, and probably not the greatest schooling system. And I thought, I'm probably going to have to self-educate myself because I didn't have any money to go to college or anything like that. So I started reading a lot of stuff. And one of the books I found was a book by an author named Viktor Frankl. And the book was called Man's Search for Meaning. This guy kind of got my interest because at the time I was kind of unfocused and passive in my approach to what my purpose was in life. And I was kind of trying to figure that out right out of high school. I was in a tricky spot. And I remember reading this book. And if you aren't familiar with the book Man's Search for Meaning follows the life of Viktor Frankl, who was either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I don't even know the difference. Anyway, in Austria, he was a Jewish psychiatrist in Austria when Hitler took power. And when Hitler took power, he rounded up all the Jewish people, obviously, and put them in these concentration camps. And basically, he took everything. He basically stripped their identity. He took their clothes, their identity, their titles, everything away from them in an attempt to make them feel less human, so that he could, do the horrible things that he ended up doing to those people. But Viktor Frankl, as he was captured and swept up and taken to this concentration camp, he decided to mentally take notes because he described in his book how the world can take everything from you, everything. They can even strip your identity, but they can't take away from you what you have going on in your mind. And so Viktor Frankl decided to track and pay attention to and mentally document. They wouldn't give him pencil and paper or anything like that. So he mentally documented how people acted in these situations. And he watched as the prison guards stripped everything away from these individuals. And, they really were starving them to death. They were really doing some horrible things. And if you think there's nothing worse than death, you're wrong. If you read this book, you'll realize there's a whole lot worse things than death. But anyway, as he watched this whole process, he started to see some people, when everything was stripped from them and food was scarce and living conditions were harsh, he saw some of these individuals turn into, what basically he called the animal instinct took over. And they would fight over a scrap of bread with people they were supposed to love or care about. He said, and even as that was happening on the other side of the spectrum, he also saw individuals who if there was a scrap of bread, they would give it to other people before they'd eat it themselves. And he said he watched some of those individuals become almost saint-like. And he was very curious about what made some individuals become saint-like, what made some individuals turn into basically animals. And the thing that he described was purpose. The people that became saint-like had a purpose for their suffering and their challenges. And they had something they wanted to get, something good they wanted to get out of the situation. And this kind of it hit me kind of hard when I thought, you know what? We're all going to face these trials and challenges and discouragements and frustrations and tragedies and trauma. If we're looking for what we can get and get the good stuff out of this situation, we can really become more saint-like. And so it's what had been one of the driving forces in my life is if I got to go through hard stuff, and I do, and you do, what can we get? And let's get the good stuff. Well, in our family, we created a couple of strategies that supported us in this effort. There's one called Good versus Evil that my wife created because she was struggling with uh, worry and doubt and fear for our kids' future. And she created a strategy to help her overcome that and really be at our very best for our kids and really give them their best instead of letting those thoughts take hold. And she got just so much joy out of that. And we also created one called Good Talk. There's one called, let me see, there's obviously one called the Get Philosophy. And all these are different strategies we created. And by the way, in my book, I'll put a link to my book below. You'll learn the exact steps we took to create these specific strategies for our family, with the idea being anytime we faced a challenge or a difficulty, we could create a strategy and design what we were going to get out of these challenges or tragedies or trauma. And we wanted to get the good stuff. So hopefully that's helpful. If you are interested in learning the framework or the pathway we took to create strategies that helped us to learn this and to live the Get philosophy, again, you'll want a copy of my book, Autism Parenting Secrets. I'll put a link in the comments below. Grab a copy of that. You'll see the framework we use that allows you to create strategies for any challenge or any trial or any tragedy or any trauma that you're facing. There's a way for us to overcome those things and get the good stuff. And frankly, getting the good stuff is really what motivates me. It's why I'm so happy so often, even as I've faced challenges and trials and tragedy and trauma. I can still smile and I can still be happy because I'm looking to, and I feel like I'm getting the good stuff out of these challenges. So hopefully that's helpful. The Get philosophy. If you're not already doing it, I recommend you start doing it, whatever that means to you, and certainly grab a copy of my book. It'll help you to create the framework you need to create that strategy. So thanks a lot. I hope this is helpful. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.